Before the world got more expensive, this blue container was just full of cheap steel and car parts. But as this container traveled across oceans, one word on its side slowly fades, not from rain, but from politics. Our story begins on the day the world quietly became more expensive. One border, one tariff at a time. At its first stop, the United States, this container meets a new reality. Tariffs, and plenty of them. A bold red stamp declares higher taxes on electric vehicles, steel, aluminium, and industrial parts from China. The word cheap fades as new numbers appear. Each extra percentage point a quiet new cost. When the container heads for Europe, it finds another wall waiting. New tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles. Brussels calls it a defense against unfair subsidies. Beijing sees it as a new front in an economic war. In this new tariff era, three giants dominate the stage: the United States, the European Union, and China. Far from the ports, in an Ohio steel town, those tariffs are more than numbers on a screen. Mike reads that Washington has raised tariffs to protect American factories like his from cheaper imports. For him, tariffs do not look like trade policy. They look like overtime hours and a safer mortgage payment. As foreign steel becomes more expensive, domestic orders creep back, and his plant feels less like it's living month to month. At his front door, tariffs sound less like a tax and more like protection for a family and a town.
Across the Atlantic, in Germany's steel heartland, the same trade war feels very different.
Lucas, an engineer in Duisburg, watches the same headlines and wonders what they mean for his more complex world.
Brussels promises that new tariffs on Chinese electric cars will give European automakers a fairer fight.
Yet for Lucas, Europe's shield could also become a trap if China hits back at European exports in return. He sees not just protection, but the risk of losing markets abroad if this tariff war hardens into long-term walls. In a world of retaliation, every tariff comes with a shadow question mark hanging over future demand. Meanwhile, far from Washington and Brussels, a new chapter unfolds in the factories of Southeast Asia.
Here, a factory owner named Mai sees opportunity in the chaos as Chinese goods search for new routes.
Chinese components arrive, are assembled locally, and then re-exported to the West under different tariff rules. To some, this looks like smart diversification. To others, it looks like a clever detour around new walls. Mai worries that if Western capitals see her region as a backdoor for Chinese goods, their factories could be next on the tariff list. For Mike, tariffs are a shield. For Lucas, a risk. For Mai, a fragile opportunity balanced on political decisions far away. Zoomed out, we see a world where tariff lines spread like veins, redirecting trade flows on a massive scale. Chinese exports avoid the most hostile borders and surge toward new buyers, even as old partners talk about decoupling.
Despite the walls, China's trade surplus swells past $1 trillion, fueling accusations of a dangerously unbalanced system.
Within the G20, the value of goods under new tariffs has quadrupled in a single year, an unprecedented spike in trade barriers. Every leader claims to be defending workers and industries, even as each new wall makes the global marketplace a little smaller. For the average American shopper, these decisions show up not in speeches, but in higher prices on cars, fridges, and washing machines.
A small tariff at the port becomes a slightly larger monthly payment for a family trying to buy a safer, cleaner car.
In the short run, some factories gain breathing room while others tread water, and Chinese plants keep running by pushing exports elsewhere.
Economically, tariffs are simple. They raise import costs, and those costs rarely dissipate. They flow, eventually, to the final buyer.
Some of that burden is traded for real benefits, like jobs saved in a steel town, but the bill is shared by millions at the checkout counter. The same logic applies to electric cars and green tech, where higher trade frictions can slow the very transition governments say they want. Institutions that once promised open trade now spend more time managing disputes than lowering barriers, as trust erodes between major powers.
For Mike, these global tensions are background noise, as long as his plant stays open and his kids are okay.
Lucas worries that a more closed world could mean fewer orders, less innovation, and a weaker position for Europe in the long run.
Mai lives with the fear that new rules written far away could erase her factorial's fragile gains overnight.
And around them all, millions of consumers quietly pay higher bills, rarely told how much of the increase is just politics at the border.
There is another possible story, where tariffs are temporary tools, not permanent walls, and countries fix overcapacity and subsidies together.
But there is also a darker path, where every crisis becomes an excuse for new barriers, making trade slower, trust weaker, and growth smaller.
Our blue container is still moving, carrying steel, car parts, and now the hidden cost of mistrust between great powers.
The slogan on its side has changed. The world has learned that someone, somewhere, always pays for these economic weapons.
So we are left with a hard question. Are we truly protecting workers, or building walls that quietly make the world poorer?
In the coming years, the answer will shape not just trade statistics, but the price of almost everything you touch and use.
This is the new tariff war between the United States, Europe, and China, and the real question is simple. Who really pays?
If you want more deep dives into the real cost of today's economic battles, comment your thoughts below. Hit like and subscribe.